Hi, everyone. This is Robert over at Capital Retail Group. We're a commercial real estate firm located in Bethesda, Maryland, and Tysons Corner, Virginia. We specialize in commercial real estate for Class B shopping centers, smaller to medium size, and we do property management, leasing, and tenant representation. When we're representing tenants, we often get questions about a natural breakpoint or percentage rent if a landlord is requiring that in their lease. So I wanted to go ahead and explain that calculation, how it's done, so that everyone understands sort of how to think about this before they go forward with signing a lease. So let's jump right into the calculation. So the natural breakpoint, the first thing to do is to calculate what the natural breakpoint is going to be before you determine whether this is a deal you want to move forward with if you're a tenant. And there's a couple things you need to get from the agent or the landlord, and that is, what is the overage rent? So what are they going to charge you in the overage? We're going to make the assumption in this particular calculation that it's 8%. So you're given this number of 8% is the overage rate. The annual base rent is something that you also need to know. How is that calculated? Well, that is basically taking the square footage of the space that you're looking to lease, and you're going to times that by the the rate per square foot. So in this particular instance, we've come up with a square footage, we've times it by the rate, and we've come up with $120,000 as the example. The last thing you're going to need to assume, you're not going to really have this before you sign a lease, is what you think your annual sales will be. We're going to make an assumption of $1.6 million. So these are the three things you want to have: is the overage rate, the annual base rent, and making an assumption about the total sales that the business would have. With these three things, you can go ahead and figure out what the natural break point is and how much it's going to cost at the end of the year. So essentially what that natural break point is, it's an added rent that the landlord is going to collect based on how well you do as a business. And so take the $120,000 in annual base rent. You're going to divide that by the overage, which is 8%. And here's the natural breakpoint. It's $1.5 million. Now, we just talked about that we're going to assume that your annual sales are $1.6 million. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the difference between the $1.6 million and the natural breakpoint. In this case, it's $1.5 million. And I've come up with the excess sales of $100,000. I'm going to take that $100,000, all right, and then now I have to times that by 8%. And here you go. I owe, if I'm the tenant, I owe $8,000 to the landlord in addition to what the annual base rent is, which was calculated as $120,000. So it's $120,000 plus $8,000 for $128,000. The percentage rent is typically calculated and paid on an annual basis. So at the end of the year, you'll also see another clause in your lease that talks about sending in what your total sales are. And you'll find that the landlord wants to see that those are done by a CPA, not just made up by you to sort of underestimate, if you will. That's their concern, underestimating your sales to avoid the natural break point. So if you guys have any questions on how this is calculated, we have more examples. We would be more than happy to help you out and figure that out. Give us a call, 202-319-2884, or check us out on the web at capitalretailgroup.com. Thanks a lot and have a great afternoon.